Hi, TJ.
I share Joe.
Here we are, podcast number 2 for the Sworn Impact podcast. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be
Yeah.
here.
So just for everyone who's watching, I'm Sherry Joe, and I own Sworn Impact, and TJ Campagna is one of our instructors. And really, his expertise lies in officer wellness and employee engagement. Those are kind of the topics he teaches most often for Sworn Impact. And so I think it's really great that he's on the show today and going to talk about what this means for him.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. Police officer for 21 years, three-ish of which have been spent in employee support, resiliency, wellness, engagement. So it's something that's relatively new to me, but to find out that I'm rather old hat at it anyway. And a lot of it just has to do with literally the simples of life. Greeting, hi, how are you? What's going on? How's your day? Good to see you. Things like that. So yeah, it's a pleasure to be here.
I think you're great at wellness because you're a good human being who cares about others. And I think that's really what it takes. You've forced yourself to become an expert in all things wellness and access to services for the officers that you serve.
No doubt. It was a force at first, for sure. I'm a big bootstraps guy. Grab them, pull your boots up, get going, get the work done that you need to get done. Family's got a ranching background, and you weren't helpful if you weren't working. So it kind of changed for me a little bit, and especially kind of the psych realm. Bootstraps are less of a thing in the psych realm. It's more about hormones and brain chemistry and things like that just don't have much to do with bootstraps. So it was a reasonable kind of step over things for me to get into this. But once I'm all in, man. I geek out on this stuff. It's fun.
That's awesome. That's great that you can acknowledge it, that it was a hurdle, and that you love living in that world now. One of the things that we've promised people on the podcast is that we're going to provide useful information, practical tips, something that is going to help those in public safety. And I think you have a lot to offer in that space. So I'm going to ask a lot for your advice, ask a lot about your personal experience. And so I think we can dive right in.
Okay.
So I already said this, but I really appreciate the fact that you have a heart for the work of wellness, but you're also, like, if I'm speaking frankly, a pretty badass cop and supervisor. And, that frontline supervisor skill that a good sergeant has to have, I think you bring that. And can you talk a little bit about, the frontline supervisor piece? You were an FTO sergeant for a while. Is that correct?
Correct. Yep.
And talk about maybe some of the leadership lessons learned on the front line there with folks who were just coming on.
I'll tell you, the law enforcement in general throws around the word trust a lot. And it's not something that I throw around lightly. It's, we say, we want to trust our people. We want to trust our supervision, things like that. For me, trusting people to do the work they're doing, investing my belief in that they can get the job done, investing my time with them to coach them up and show them the ropes, so to speak, are big key things for me becoming a supervisor, stepping into that realm. I was non-traditional for sure. I waited 17 years to promote. I was a road cop in many capacities, street work, FTO work. I instructed the academy for 3 years, which actually really gave me the acumen to involve in being an active supervisor on the department now too. That was a really big turning point for me, was going to the police academy. But that taught me the trust built in a human, showing them that I knew they could do it and telling them why I knew they could do it, things like that. And albeit sounding cheesy, it's not. It's really foundational, in my opinion. So it really worked. It worked quite well, and I was very happy to take the path that I took and wait that long, because I feel like it really made all the clarity. It got me all the clarity in the world to become what I really needed to be. It was, a substantially good supervisor.
I think it's interesting that you take it internal, like it gave you clarity and it gave you understanding, when some people would put it in a way that's more selfish and ego driven, where they would say, well, I got all this street cred in 17 years. People respect me and my work that I've done, but you take it much more personally than that. And it's an interesting take on it.
That's kind. I really, ultimately, it takes those things that you mentioned, Sergio, byproducts, in my opinion. I think that those things come with your confidence in yourself to do your job. It truly did take me 17 years to be 100%. You throw a curveball at me, I'm going to hit it every time. And that took that long for me to understand, to be coached, to use things. I'm a big learner by example. So I had many people to pull from, negatively and positively, of how to be the supervisor I wanted to be. And even conversational. I mean, I've pulled actual verbiage from good sergeants that I used to work for and with, that really, one guy was like, man, do you work with me or do you work for me? And I said, this feels like something I need to get right. Can you tell me what you're thinking? And he said, just answer the question, dude. So I literally did. And I said, I feel like I work for you. And he said, then I'm not excelling. I feel like you need to be feeling like you're working with me. You're working with me. I do a job and you do a job. They're different, but the same at the same time. Of course, I have to answer to a higher up about something that you may have done or did. I have to tell somebody and summate a call to somebody that you were involved in. But at the end of the day, you're carrying the weight. I'm offering you the wagon in which to pull it. So I don't know. All those things made so much sense to me, and it took 17 years to understand that. So
that's a pretty fabulous conversation you had with a sergeant who was willing to be vulnerable.
Wildly considered the best department supervisor our department's ever seen.
So you've worked with a ton of different officers in the FTO capacity, and then just for those watching, you are now on your second go round as the department's wellness coordinator.
Yep.
So the first time you were in that position, you went from supervising, leading, and serving officers who were on the road, and then you made this transition into the wellness unit where you're serving others in a really different capacity. Can you talk about maybe some of the most common concerns and challenges that officers were coming to you with in the wellness unit when you were brand new in it? What were common challenges?
Common challenges were uncommon. The commonality, there was no congruity between them, I guess is what I'm trying to say. There was a lot. It came down to quarrels between sergeants and subordinates. It came to really wildly, what turned out to be the biggest common denominator, I guess, between all these problems that were pretty different, but they ended up being the same in one true respect, was lack of communication and the ability for both parties to communicate properly the way they felt with less emotion involved. Obviously, we're very emotional about the way people think about us working. We want people to think we do a good job. And I think that is predominantly a big contributor, so to speak, that people end up feeling a certain way about how their supervisor is acting, how they're acting as a person working with the supervisor. I mean, communication ended up being lacking. And I feel like I advocate a lot Still to this day. Just speaking with somebody recently who came to me with what I summated into a communication issue, and literally just translating to that human with me. What does that look like to you? Do you feel like you've been portraying your concerns well to your chain of command? Well, it's funny. A lot of people and command officers come to me and say, "Hey, something's up with this person. Can you speak with them?" Like, might be better conversation you have, sir or ma'am, with them. And I find myself advocating a lot for direct, concise communication.
Instead of
it helps in
opting,
some.
I like that. Instead of opting immediately for, hey, wellness unit guy, fix this person, you're encouraging supervisors to, what does that look like? Like, go have a conversation with them.
No doubt.
Ask the right questions.
Yep. And I mean, frankly, too, you know what really was obvious to me when I started doing this job? I was a sergeant for and with 8 humans at a time as a patrol sergeant. Now I'm a sergeant for and with almost 1,000 people as a department wellness coordinator, because each time these things translate down into me utilizing tactics, concerns, especially from a communication standpoint, that I would have as a road sergeant. It literally comes down to that. And I mean, this is me like geeking out here and really getting super hippy dippy woo woo, but it really comes down to, frankly, us making the bosses on the department, the sergeants specifically, the first line supervision, back into what they used to be when I was a new cop, which was the human that I had mentioned before in the wagon analogy. It was really, it comes down to them being, and people don't like it when I do this sometimes, but it's if you're a parent, it's a very parent driven relationship, parentally driven relationship, in my opinion. I would afford my children nothing but me being direct. I would afford my children nothing but love and concern. Also being firm and expecting them to handle their lives well. And it's a big delivery that I've got with cops sitting in front of me and professional staff sitting in front of me. I'm a wellness coordinator for almost 300 professional staff as well. So, I mean,
and every level of supervision, from
absolutely
brand new
100%.
officers to well tenured people in command staff.
Commanders, chiefs, you name them. They're people that are all folks that have been in some way, shape, or form looking for wellness guidance in some way, shape, or form, whatever that looks like.
We talked a little bit about this before, but can you talk about the wellness coordinator, those of you who work in the wellness unit, being kind of the experts of what is available to people as far as mental and physical therapies? How do you go about connecting people with what they need?
I think it's knowledge, first of all, a good knowledge base, understanding, visiting off-site places. My partner and I have traveled the country looking for better care for cops in need of care, whatever care that may be. Literally geeking out with other wellness units. Hey man, what do you do? We really, like, if this is a given situation for you, right now my partner and I are trying to figure out how we make sense to all the people we need to make sense to. How do we get a place that's an actual like wellness building, like wellness thing, not just a wellness office and a PT clinic in the headquarters building, which we have, which is a lot more than most have. We have a PT for private injury, PT for work comp injuries. Work comp still takes precedence because it's a city-run facility, so we need to get our work comp guys in and taken care of, and gals taken care of much more effectively. And we saw that was a vision of my predecessor in this unit. was just, he worked tirelessly until finally, and I had 3 predecessors. It was 2 sergeants and my first partner in the unit were actually worked very hard in getting this PT clinic up and running, which is
it's so
key component.
unique.
It is, and it's a key component for a city wellness program, in my opinion, for a department wellness program. We work in conjunction with the fire department too, which is what made it more wider sweeping, I guess, and made more sense to city staff and city HR to do it. So it was really kind of working in, which comes back, brings me back to the point of your question, Sherry Jo, is simple. It's you've got to have the relationships, the knowledge of what folks do, given HR, given PT clinic staff, given psych clinic staff, given neurotherapy clinic staff, given rehab staff in another state. Like, what does that even look like? You wonder, and honestly, it just takes time and like a brain that absorbs, I think, more than anything. Because when I started doing this, I had you literally talked to me about wellness, and I was like, yeah, they're super helpful, and I don't know how. I should have, but I didn't. And then it turned into this. Now, another reason why a successful wellness unit works is to prevent our first line leadership from not understanding what that really looks like. Perfect world, I would literally have like a brain port, and every time they come to take the test or go to new sergeant school, I literally take my brain port and just be like, there you go. You have all the knowledge that I've got about what the department has to offer to a human in need. And then we just do that through education instead, because brain ports aren't practical, they're sci-fi.
It's interesting, as far as sworn impact work is concerned, you have a lot of experience to offer because of the size of department you work for, because of all the services you have. You have the ability to really partner with and consult with departments who hire sworn impact. And I really appreciate that about you. What do you think is, if someone is kicking off a wellness program or really wants to set forward a great foundation for a new wellness program, what would you say should be the foundation of care?
Psych. Psych is over and over again, 100%. Cops, it doesn't matter if you're a cop in a small department or a NYPD, LAPD. You are a human that is exposed to trauma that is unlike trauma that anybody else experiences. Even simple things, and everybody's like, mass shootings are traumatic. Obviously, that's a given. That's 100% given. Those are life-changing events. What cops need to understand and realize is a life-changing event is also the day-to-day, the cumulative trauma that you're dealing with, to be specific, cumulative mental trauma that you're dealing with, going to, terrible car accidents, seeing people injured the way they're not supposed to be injured, dealing with, the smaller and more narrowed focused, terrible assaults on people, whether they be sexual or physical or a combination of both, just terrible things that happen to people that humans don't see on a regular basis. And so then it takes also the understanding that not only police officers are going through that, right? Specifically vis-a-vis our psych component. When I started at my department, officers were offered a unlimited modality. They were allowed to go constantly. It was an unlimited benefit. So there was never a count kept. They could go every day if they needed to. Obviously, that's not feasible, but they were allowed to go a lot. Their immediate family was not. Immediate family was allowed 6 appointments with our psych partners. And we only offered 6 appointments to professionals / civilian staff. And that was not equitable, in my opinion. And the department ameliorated that issue. It's now unlimited for dependents in a family of an officer. It's unlimited for And even more specifically, to be more broader focused, police department employees are offered, whether they're sworn or civilian, are offered an unlimited treatment ability. And that's huge. Also, their dependents, so immediate family, people living in their home.
That's amazing work. And I hope that people who are listening to this or watching this know that they can pick up the phone and call TJ and say, walk me through the advocation process. Like, how did you advocate for this funding? How did you work with your command staff? I want people, we have to go to the next question, but I think it is important that people know they can use you and your partner as a resource. So we'll, in the comments after we're done recording, we'll put some outreach information for you.
100% available to them. Absolutely.
Yeah. What are some of the things that you have found work best when you are, trying to keep it all together at work and trying to keep it all together at home? I mean, this is a challenging profession for people to balance home and work.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's a very personal, not personal. It's not, you can't ask that of me. Obviously, I'm an open book as far as these things go. I'd love to talk about it. I don't know what it looked like for me to be successful in my entire life, professional and private. And I don't know that I'm successful 100% of the time either, because I don't think really anybody's 100% successful all the time. But what does it look like? I mean, it's upbringing for me. My upbringing was requisite. You were a helper around your house. That's the way we raised our girls. We do family work. We don't do chores here. We do family work, and we all join in on keeping this place running well and running efficiently, and looking at it from, everybody's going to pitch in, and then we get time to hang out together and do fun stuff too. So that type of thing. Professionally, it was as simple as I just did not want to be bad at my job. And I know nobody wants to be bad at their job. I realized that. But it was when I didn't know something, as embarrassing as it may have been not to know. Police work, we use a lot of acronyms, a lot of, PTI and like all the, I can go down the gamut.
You're very good at the acronyms in police work.
And when you're a new cop, they don't just teach you these acronyms. You assimilate, and by the use and circumstance of use and things like that, just like the English language, just like any language, just like anything you do, you assimilate into the culture. And part of assimilating into the culture was to learn. But I'm not a smart human being. Like, it comes down to intellectually, I have to ask questions, and I have to ask questions to gain understanding. And I think as soon as we understand that about humans, we're going to be, as a society, better off. What does PTI mean? I have no idea. Can you just tell me what that means? One thing said over the radio constantly was "I'll advise," and for probably the better part of my FTO process, which was 3.5 months, was "I'll advise." I have no idea what "I'll advise" means. And somebody was talking about why don't we advise in a briefing when I was out on my own. I got to be solo finally. I was like, I have a really ridiculous question now because I should know the answer to this. What's advising? I have no idea. And my sergeant goes, it's going on calls alone. That's it. I'm like, oh, I understand now. So I think that simply bringing it back to focus. Obviously, you asked me how to be successful. What are tactics? Simply seeking out understanding of what you're doing professionally. Home is simple. It's all based in care and love for my wife and my girls. It's just comes down to, I don't want to be the dad that is not included in, future stuff, big stuff, wedding dress shopping, the stuff that dads don't do. I'm like, do you two think you're going wedding dress shopping without me? You're crazy. I'm going. And I don't need to be hanging out, but I want to be there when you do it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be sitting outside the store and be like, I don't like to shop and be on my phone. I like that one because it's got beads on it. I like that one because it's got a lot of lace on it. I like that one because you look wonderful in it. And, I'm just a big nerd at heart. So
That is very sweet. And it's one of the things we were talking about before the show. You guys are getting ready to go on a trip tomorrow. Is that right? Yep. And everybody around your house is like, let's clean the toilet. What are like the tasks that they're all doing?
Sure, Joe. This is literally like wash the dog, set the dog up to go to where the dog is going and like what that looks like. And like all the stuff that I can be like, that makes no sense to me. Why would we do that? And be very, I use the word obtuse a lot, and I apply it to myself mostly. I don't want to be obtuse. I don't want to be ununderstanding. So I'd say, instead of saying, well, why do we need to do that? They can remember me happily joining in, doing the family work that's required to get this group of people out of the house in a manner that they feel relaxed. Is it relaxing to me to prep for a trip on Saturday when I don't have to go to work? Maybe, maybe not. But at the end of the day, is it relaxing to me to have them be happy with the way I behave today? That's more important. And that's the application. I don't want to ever be, and I mentioned the wedding dress thing. You don't get to go wedding dress shopping like this like big band, like landmark thing in a woman's life, to go get a wedding dress and actually shop for it and do that, wonderful thing and have all the friends there. I mean, I want to be the only man there for sure. And like, I want to be, not like in some weird way, but just like, I feel like I've earned it, and I hope they think I've earned it. And I have like no expectation at all. If they don't want me there, all they have to do is say, Daddy, we don't want you to come. That'll secretly.
But you're talking about setting the stage so that they do want you to be there, so that they do see it as a
And that's what it comes down to. It really, it's requisite. And over time, we were just talking about today. We in the morning, it's almost like a vacation. Everybody's like, how'd you sleep? What's going on? And, kind of little check-in time. And that's just, it's not something that we've ever done like as a requirement. It's just the way we are. And it, you earn those things and you put in that work, and it looks like, it looks like what it looks like because of what you've done over time. It's not just, some dad really not wanting to do the things and not going to all the stuff and then be like, I want to go wedding dress shopping.
Yeah.
Or, just, so I don't know. Privately, I feel like I'm much more successful than I am professionally because it's where I'm immersed the most. Professionally is a little more uncomfortable. I have to ask a lot of questions, which makes me, I feel like a better professional. I have to ask, Faith Goodrich is on Sworn Impact staff, and 100%, she says to me, very wonderful things to me. I really appreciate your knowledge and ability and all those things, but I appreciate her knowledge and ability. I mean, she and I bounce things off each other professionally once in a while. And it's super helpful to have humans like that in that world where I get to say, I need a baseline. Am I full of it here, or am I actually making some sense? And she's great because she's literally one of the humans that I can go to professionally that will be like, TJ, you said that? You can't say that. Dude, you need to go apologize to those people. Or that I really agree with that. I think that's not something I would do, but I may do that in the future. And I do that with her. When she says things to me, I use her stuff more than she uses mine probably. But anyway.
I think that's a good tip. At work, surround yourself with people who aren't just going to say yes and nod their head and agree with you.
And people that I laud to be better than I am. I think that's a big requirement. It's got to be people that you don't want to be disappointed in you. Yeah, no doubt.
I have one last question. You've been in policing for 21 years. Is that right? 21?
Yep, 21. Yep.
I have had the privilege of seeing you in the workplace, and you bring joy and passion to what you're doing every day. How do you do that? Like, do you have tips? Do you have something that you think about? Like, how do you do that?
So again, I think it comes down to like personal. we all know the state of affairs in law enforcement today, right? I think that if cops are being honest with everybody, they have good days and they have more bad days. And it's not only bad days in in dealing with work issues and problems, but it's bad days because their calls were bad. The circumstance of their work is problematic for them mentally. I'll tell you what, man, I wanted to be a cop since I was a little kid, and I get a little emotional when I talk about it too, and you can tell it really still means the world to me. Some guys are hit 21 years and like, I can't wait. And they, and I don't blame them. I think we need to be what we need to be to ourselves first. And that's 100% honest first. And I think when you're 100% honest with yourself, that's the start out. And then, man, daily, like I'm still, my partner goes, well, how much longer do you think you have? And I was like, I don't know. I've gone 21, maybe 21 more. Like, I have no idea. My body doesn't give out. And, I've got this headspace. I could go until I as long as I can walk and as long as I can talk, I'll keep going. And I don't say that like to be like the wellness guy and like everything's amazing. And, I love my job, but everything for me is truly amazing. And I do love my job truly. And I mean, it comes to the point where I don't get to put my uniform on a lot anymore, which really breaks my heart because I love it. I think it's one of the coolest things that I've earned and I earned it very quickly. You almost earn it through time too. I think they give it to you and then you earn it afterward, kind of like trust a little bit. But I think, I look down and when I'm driving in my uniform and I still see sergeant stripes, I don't believe it. I have no idea. I cannot believe that I'm a boss, and not boss like I get to boss people around, but like law enforcement calls sergeants bosses a lot, military too, and I cannot believe that I'm a sergeant. I just still to this day, it's like this dream of mine, and it was. I think a lot of it had to do with way back when we started talking. A lot of it had to do with the wagon sergeant. And the analogies he made, the things that he talked about made so much sense to me. And man, if I can be that guy to the people with whom I work for and make sure that they're provided for the way he provided for me, I don't know. It would be a dream fulfilled for me. And I'm still trying to fulfill it. I think just living up to the position I've got. And what are tips on how to do that? Gosh, like I just went on a huge tangent because I love it so much.
That's okay. It came from the heart and that's appreciated.
Simple tips.
Is it workout every day? Is it like,
that's interesting. A guy came to me the other day and he's like, man, I go work out because I have to now. I used to love working out and now I feel like I just have to. And it's just like chore. And he's made working out like as he eats breakfast, lunch, and dinner. He makes working out like a thing. Really stout. And he's a bang up leader. Good guy. But he was like, man, I work out because I feel like I have to now. And it broke my heart because I like working out. But I think I work out when I can, not when I have to fit it in. And so, I just go do it when I can. I think every day it's so hard to say what every day looks like. I think every day finding a reason why today is a good day to go to work, because we have to. We don't get it. I tell people this a lot. If they're upset at work, if they're finding work is not a thing, usually I find that when people come sit and talk with me, though I'm not a counselor, they still sit and talk with me and they still hash out what their professional lives look like. Do you think I should do this or that or whatever? A big thing is being honest with yourself and saying, do I still need to do this? If people are truly upset by the job and truly not liking it, do I still need to do this? And I think so. I think most specifically, what's one tip? Be honest with yourself and tell yourself, I like to think I'm lucky to have a job. But I don't project that onto people because some people don't feel lucky to be doing this job. They feel burdened to be doing this job. And I think meeting them where they are with that, telling them that I understand, because yes, there are days when I feel burdened to do this job, 100%. I think it's being honest with myself. I think it's being honest with the people that I work for and telling them, yeah, today I don't feel like being here. I mean, but I'm still here and I'm still going to try to work on this because I need to be something for you. And that was helpful. I think that for me, realizing that I need to be there for the citizenry that I work for, if I'm forward facing, to be there for the cops that I'm working for now. I think more than doing any one thing, I think it's a headspace you've got to find yourself in. And if you're not, I mean, I'd love to talk with whomever needs to find the headspace. I mean, we've got things for that. So,
well, like I said before, Sworn Impact, the company, is just what a privilege to have you on the team, and these departments that keep asking questions about wellness. Can you provide us a consultant or training for our peer support team, or just someone to provide a little bit of advice? I am so glad that we have you for that, because you have the heart for these people.
I just appreciate the opportunity. This is what a great platform to be able to reach out past and really, I mean, break through. So, I mean, we truly don't have the effect of an officer making a bad decision in another state affecting us, but we have actual like principles and things to work from that we can affect each other in other states because we're talking and communicating is a big deal. I love this platform so much.
Yeah.
So,
well, thank you. Thanks for spending time on the podcast. And then I'll be sure and put contact information in the comments here.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, TJ.
Okay.